The world is in crisis. And people are looking for hope and answers. Thai PBS World is there with you with the best minds of the day. Join us on Thai PBS World tonight, every weekdays at 7 p.m. Thai PBS World, we bring Thailand to the world.
Swadika, very good evening and welcome to Thai PBS World Tonight. I'm Nad Bunag.
I'm Tulip Naksompoplao.
And we'll start the show tonight with the latest updates on COVID-19 in Thailand. And today there are 4 new infections of this virus, and that also includes a Hungarian diplomat, which appears to be another local transmission. And the CCSA revealed today a Hungarian diplomat in Thailand is among 4 new COVID-19 cases recorded in the country today. The 53-year-old unidentified diplomat who lives in Bangkok is reported to have been in close contact with a visiting Hungarian minister who was found to be infected with COVID-19 on November 3rd and has already left for home. The diplomat, who remains to be asymptomatic, has been admitted to Bamranaradun State Hospital for treatment. At the same time, the Sukhothai residences released a statement today that one of the residents has tested positive for COVID-19. The resident was in contact with a COVID-19 positive individual, according to the statement, and has been in self-quarantine in his unit since November 3rd. It also said that staff members had no direct contact with this person and nobody has entered his unit during his quarantine. However, it is suspected that this resident might have come down to the lobby area on November 4th to collect his food. It further states that government authorities will investigate the situation at the building to see whether the resident has come into contact with anybody else at the time. The 3 other infections today include a 50-year-old American, the manager of a private company, arriving from the United States and entering hotel-based quarantine in Bangkok, a 38-year-old Indian hotel employee arriving from India and also in hotel-based quarantine in Bangkok, and a 27-year-old Thai woman arriving from Sweden and in hotel quarantine in Bangkok. The 4 new cases today brought the total number of infections in Thailand to 3,844, with 9 new recoveries and no new fatalities. And meanwhile, there have been no cases of COVID-19 among the 3 groups of foreign tourists who arrived in Thailand on special tourist visas. The director of the Communicable Diseases Division, Dr. Sopon Iepsirithawon, revealed that the first and the second group of Chinese tourists have completed their 14-day quarantine and have been cleared free of the virus. The last group of tourists who arrived on October 28th are still in quarantine and are due to complete their isolation today. However, Dr. Sopon urged the public to maintain all health and safety practices. He also warned that quarantine alone will not keep the country safe, stating that the most recent cases in Thailand were among returnees who appeared to have been asymptomatic for long periods of time, possibly even the duration of their quarantine. The department has raised its alert level after 2 particular cases. The first, a French woman who tested positive a week after leaving her assigned quarantine facility, and the second, an Indian man who worked in a restaurant in Krabi, as we mentioned yesterday. Dr. Sopon said that as restrictions are eased to stimulate the economy, especially for those coming from countries considered low risk, the Communicable Diseases Division is committed to reminding people to remain vigilant as the pandemic is far from over in many parts of the world. Regarding the travel bubble program with countries regarded as low risk, Dr. Sopon said that tourists from such countries must have a fit-to-fly health certificate issued 72 hours before departure. They must also wear face masks throughout the journey, must go through health screening, quarantine and tests in accordance with standard procedures, and install the tracing app upon arrival in Thailand.
So it's actually, I think the most concerned one is the asymptomatic
Definitely.
The infection cases because we have no idea who has it, and the person that has it also has no idea that they have it, and there's a chance they will infect other people. And still on COVID, yesterday we reported to you about an Indian man that tested positive for coronavirus. And today we have found that no new cases related to this Indian man. Dr. Kitipan Chalom, Chiang Mai Assistant Public Health Officer, said that the 39 people in Chiang Mai who were suspected of having close contact with an infected Indian man between October 30th and November 2nd have all tested positive, which is a good news. The Public Health Ministry announced yesterday that a 37-year-old Indian man had tested positive for the virus on November 5th while undergoing medical tests for a work permit. The man who arrived in Thailand 3 months ago had traveled to Chiang Mai on October 30th, then Sukhothai and Phuket before returning to Krabi on November 4th, where he tested positive on the following day. He is currently being treated in Krabi Hospital. So there are some 290 people suspected of being in close contact with him during the period. So Dr. Kitipan said that 2 people in Chiang Mai were considered to be at high risk of infection, while 37 people are at low risk. All of them were all asked to provide samples on November 9th, and their tests came back negative. Doctor further added that 3 other people who might have close contact with the patient while flying had given their samples today, and the test results should come out soon. He said that the patient also visited an entertainment venue in Chiang Mai. He is a very busy man.
Definitely.
On October
Very
30th,
busy.
where the CCTV footage show him being in close contact with one person. And the doctor said that they are tracking them down and will bring them in for testing. Meanwhile, Chiang Mai's Deputy Governor Rattapon Naradison is calling on people to strictly follow the guidelines set by the Public Health Ministry, reminding people to check in using the Thai Chana app, to wear a face mask, and to wash your hands regularly. He also urged business owners that they should also be strict in screening people and enforcing the Thai Chana check-in system, which will help trace people once an infection is found.
And this is only in Chiang Mai. We haven't really heard from Sukhothai, Phuket, and other provinces that the Indian man has visited. So we'll see whether there are any more developments on this issue.
290 people.
Definitely, that's a lot surrounding this case here. And we just mentioned about tourism and the special tourist visas. And recently, the Tourism Authority of Thailand said the Ministry of Foreign Affairs have already relaxed the issue of visas to foreigners, hoping to revive tourism in the country. The TAT Executive Director for Tourism Products, Thapani Kietpaiboon, said that the tourism situation in Thailand is in the process of recovering. She said that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs had relaxed the issue of visas related to tourism, especially tourism visas, which allows foreigners to stay in Thailand for up to 60 days and up to 90 days in case of extension. As for a special tourist visa, the applicant has to come from low-risk countries, while the target countries, mostly in Europe or Scandinavia, are categorized in medium-risk countries. So Thai consulates have relaxed the regulation for applicants from these target countries to be able to apply for tourist visas. However, there are several requirements. The applicant must have savings of at least 500,000 baht, must have a medical certificate, and must take a COVID-19 test 72 hours before traveling, and must acquire health insurance policy of 100,000 US dollars and acquire outpatient insurance to cover 40,000 baht. However, the 14-day quarantine is still necessary. As of November 5th, the ministry had issued certificates of entry to 1,465 foreigners. The top 3 visas the organization had granted include retirement visas, special tourism visas, and privileged entry visas. And that's the latest on the visas for foreigners.
Now move on from COVID-related news.
Right.
You probably remember that in September there was a big news about a school, a preschool, Sarasat Vitaya school, that there was some kind of abusive case from the teachers to the young children. The latest development is that the school has denied to get into the arbitration with the parents. Sarasat Vitet Ratchapruk School sent no one to negotiate with parents in abused students in a 130 million baht lawsuit. Maybe that's the reason why, because it's 130 million baht.
Right.
Today, the Office of the Attorney General invited representatives from the school and the parents of students abused by school's teacher assistants for arbitration talks. The school responded by letter refusing to take part in the dialogue. The letter stated that the school will let the lawsuits proceed through the court. However, the Office of the Attorney General told the media that it will try to call in both sides again. So to go back in September, a CCTV clip from a preschool class at Sarasat Vitet Ratchapruk School in Nonthaburi province went viral on social media. It shows several young children being physically abused by their teachers and teacher assistants. One clip shows a female teacher chasing a child and trying to use a black plastic bag to cover him, while others show children being thrown across the classroom floor and a child's head being banged on a table. So following the incident, more video clips were reviewed by the parents, and the incidents naturally distressed the parents, and some of them filed complaints with the police in October. The teachers and the teacher assistants in question surrendered to the police. After investigating the actions captured in the video clips, the police found that 13 children had been abused on 58 occasions. Defendants in 7 out of the 19 cases have been convicted and sent to prison, while the other related cases are proceeding, and the case with the school is one of those cases. After the Office of Attorney General received a reply from the school, parents and their lawyers turned to the media, saying that 5 million baht per child for what the school has done is not excessive when you consider the psychological damage done to these children. So far, the school has refunded tuition fees for 1 semester, but has not reimbursed medical expenses. So one of the parents said that had the school shown more responsibility, they would not have filed a lawsuit for such an amount.
So 13 children being abused on 58 occasions, that's a lot.
That's a lot. That's like more than 3 or 4 per kid.
And I do agree with the parents that it does give them a lot of psychological damage, and it does affect their mental health and their growth in the future.
And these video clips go back like not a whole 2-3 months. It's just like in December only. And already 58 occasions, that's a lot.
So we'll see what happens next with the verdict of this case. And speaking of the ongoing protests and the political divide in Thailand, many people wonder whether there will be a military coup. So far, the army chief has dismissed the chance of having another military coup, saying that it's a minus chance here. Army Commander-in-Chief General Narongpan Jipkyaothai has dismissed the chance of a military coup in Thailand as a minus possibility, saying that he believes the country will weather the current political storm and that political conflict must be solved using political means. He added, however, that the military will have to support the police in the performance of their duty to maintain peace and order in the wake of the anti-establishment protest to prevent any provocation of violence. Citing Sunday's rally near the Grand Palace, during which smoke flares were hurled by people among the protesting crowd, the army chief asked what would have happened if the flares had been thrown into the palace or the city pillar shrine, causing damage. General Narongpan said, "The place is like the home of every one of us, which we love, so we must try to control the elements who are bent on provoking violence. Otherwise, our country will go backwards." He stressed that several previous protests had been illegal, but the police were very accommodating by only taking legal action against those who clearly broke the law. Meanwhile, police are in the process of collecting evidence to take legal action against key members of the Sunday's protest. 4 red mailboxes, which were placed in front of the Supreme Court for protesters to post their messages to the palace, plus the letters inside the boxes, have been seized by the police for examination.
So now I can say that the next news is a little bit of COVID related, but it's actually the economy news. How often that you turn to depend on, I would say, online services and e-commerce during the semi-lockdown we had several months ago?
I would say a lot.
For me, it's increased a lot and maybe too often, and we start to order something we never ordered online before, and we both are part of the statistic. So the Google forecasts that Thailand's digital economy will almost triple the size by 2025 from 18 billion US dollars to 53 billion US dollars. Or if you think in Thai baht, it's 549 billion baht to 1.6 trillion baht. The latest Economy Southeast Asia Report 2020 reveals that the region's internet economy is set to cross $100 billion in 2020. With 40 million people coming online for the first time this year, I assume COVID has a part in it, bringing the number of internet users in Southeast Asia to 400 million. The report estimates that by 2025, the region's digital economy will surpass $300 billion, and Thailand accounting for 53 billion, second only to Indonesia. Despite the COVID-19 crisis, Thailand's online economy has grown 7% from last year and is projected to reach $18 billion this year. The report shows that e-commerce is the main factor to drive Thailand's online economy. Thai e-commerce has grown at 81% since last year to reach $9 billion in 2020 and is expected to increase to 24 billion US dollars by 2025. That is a lot of money.
Big jump as well.
Yeah, it become a very big industry. So online media such as advertising, gaming, video and music on demand in Thailand also continues to grow at 20% since last year to reach 4 billion US dollars, and it's set to reach 7 billion US dollars in 2025. The report also shows how Thai's online habits have changed during the COVID-19. So before the semi-lockdown, Thai spent an average 3.7 hours online per day for personal use, which now increased to 4.6 hours at the height of lockdowns and now raised at 4.3 hours per day, so not that much less from the peak. 30% of all digital service consumers in Thailand were new, so they just come on this for the first time, with 95% of these new customers intending to continue their behavior post-COVID. The report said that 8 out of 10 online users see that technology is very beneficial during the lockdown and it will become indispensable in daily life going forward.
And we got to admit during the COVID-19 lockdown, we tend to rely on these online services, whether it's the food delivery, online shopping, and all of these things, because if we were confined to just our homes or in our rooms, there's no other things to do apart from just scrolling through our apps and then order what we actually need, because things have been closed down, whether it's supermarkets, shopping malls, and all these places.
I think people are scared of getting to somewhere too crowded, like supermarket. Every time you go, there's a lot of people in line, and it's very difficult to keep social distancing. And when the department store was closing, if you want some cosmetic or some other stuff that's not available in supermarket, you would have no other choice besides going online.
Definitely. Even though supermarkets were open during the lockdown, but people still choose to go online anyway to prevent exposing yourself with people. But not to forget, tomorrow's is Singles Day.
Are you excited?
Sort
Are your
of.
carts and basket online full with stuff?
Almost full, and we gotta say, it's not just tomorrow, it's only around a few hours from now.
Are you saying midnight tonight we can start shopping for the special promotion? Or
Special
we got
promotion.
no commission out of this. We just enthusiast shoppers.
Right, we love
Too
shopping.
enthusiastic maybe.
And just so you know, these are the stories we've also been following. Amnesty International Thailand has urged Thai and Cambodian governments to ensure safety for travel to Cambodia by the sister of exiled Thai activist Wanchalerm Satsaksit to search for her missing brother. Director of Amnesty International Thailand said that so far there has been no progress in the investigation by Cambodian officials into the disappearance of Wanchalerm since he was abducted in Phnom Penh on June 4th. She said that the victim's family is awaiting word from Cambodian officials about the fate of the missing activist, the reason for his disappearance, and who the perpetrators were so that they can be brought to justice. A three-finger symbol spray-painted on the wall of a BTS train sparked much criticism on social media, with netizens believing that such an act is considered vandalism. According to BKK Trains, an independent social media account on Trains and Transport tweeted that the train in the picture is a new train with CCTV installed in every bogie. Therefore, it will not be difficult to find out who did it. However, the BTS group has not reacted or made any announcements. The Sakao Provincial Livestock Office has declared 2 villages in Nong Wa sub-district of Khao Chakan district as temporary epidemic zones after breeding pigs in several farms died of a viral disease identified as porcine reproductive and respiratory syndrome, or PRRS. So far, 600 breeding pigs in 2 villages have been slaughtered as a precautionary step to prevent the further spread of the disease. Livestock officials have buried the carcasses and have disinfected all pig farms in both villages. And that wraps up tonight's edition of Thai PBS World Tonight. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow. สวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีค่ะ